Welcome. The episode that you're about to watch is very near and dear to my heart. It's an episode where we're talking about something that we don't usually talk about in society, and that's the plight of unemployment. So many of us, youth included, suffer from unemployment, and it really leads to a lot of burdens financially, mentally, emotionally, physically. And I felt it was important to share the story of mine and Isabella, to bring awareness to how unemployment can affect so many aspects of our lives, but how it's important to keep going and fight for a life worth living. It's about getting that job that you really and truly deserve. This episode was hard to make, as you will tell as you watch or listen, but I encourage you, especially as someone who's going through this struggle, to push yourself to watch it or listen to it, only if you're ready to do so. We talk about a lot of sensitive matters, from faith to financial struggle, to family and relationship dynamics, and everything in between. I hope this will help you wherever you are in your struggle on unemployment. And I hope that you will get the job that you deserve. Just remember, you're not alone, and your time will come. Coming up, you are post job. You find yourself being unemployed. Been unemployed for about 4 months now?
4 months, yeah.
Yeah. So what kind of shape shifting do you think you needed to do to be the person that you are now?
Right now, obviously, post-employment, there's a lot of self-introspection that happens.
Yeah.
You go from being at the height and the peak of it all, and I have this job, and I wake up so excited because I know I'm going to do this and this and this today. There's order, there's strategy, there's routine.
Yeah.
And then you go from that to literally nothing. Wake up and it's vibes. It's vibes, and wherever the wind blows, we go.
Yeah.
So I was born with a disability. I have rickets, and in matric, I was bullied. Well, I was bullied in primary and matric and everywhere else. In high school and primary, and where I had to redefine myself was when I had to put my foot down and say,
in your unemployment, you chose to talk about your story. You talk about it quite extensively on LinkedIn, and you share the honest truth about, being on day X of unemployment and what you've learned, or having the honest chat about what unemployment looks like. What made you decide to want to share that part of your life? Because you are a social media influencer, you're pretty big on Instagram, TikTok, etc. So what made you decide to take now a vulnerable approach to sharing this part of your life?
One thing that people also don't talk about enough is, yes, you lost your job, but so many other things changed. Friends switch up. People lose relationships. People's relationships with their families even become strained, and so many other things. And I think for me, how I navigate that is, I think you need to get to a point where you understand the end goal. And for me, the end goal was, I need to get a job. I need to get out of the space. The end goal was, Bella needs to be okay.
Financial implications. How do you think that's affected you?
I mean, I think first things first.
Do you think your faith has been shaken by this experience?
100%. And this makes me so emotional, but I'm just thinking to myself, where are you? And I really hope it actually works out.
And at some point, you realize the past doesn't have to define you. The detours, the setbacks, the closed doors, they're all part of the story, your story. And here, we're all about second chances, fresh starts, and those moments that change everything. Welcome to the Breakthrough Sessions podcast, where we talk about the messy, the beautiful, and the in-between. Because every ending is just the beginning of something new. I'm Refilwe, and this is The Rebirth. Let's get into it.
Isabella?
Hey, Fifi.
Hi.
My friend's name is actually Fifi, so I call her Fifi.
Nice.
Yeah.
I'm Fifi.
Okay.
Fifi.
That's good.
Yeah. Your nickname is it Isa or is it Bella?
Both. It depends on who is obviously addressing me, but some call me Izzy, Isa, Bella.
Okay.
A whole lot, but Bella works.
Okay. Was there ever a moment in your journey from childhood to now where you had to redefine who Isabella Makhura is?
100%. I think so. I was born with a disability. I have rickets, and in matric, I was bullied. Well, I was bullied in primary and matric and everywhere else.
Yeah.
In high school and primary, and where I had to redefine myself was when I had to put my foot down and say, "I'm a good student." I was the head girl in my year in matric.
Nice.
And I just thought there was unnecessary jealousy because I was a head girl. Oh, she's disabled. Why her? You know?
Yeah.
And I was a very quiet kid. I was a nerd, and I had to put my foot down. And from that moment, I think that's how I became who I am. I'm very confident in myself right now. I speak a lot. I'm very vocal on issues that suppress the minority, disabled people, women, black people, the likes, And I think for me, that was a turning moment. I think if I wasn't bullied, probably would have still been shy, quiet, and the whole lot. And I think for me, it was a defining moment in that. I became more confident. I became more vocal on a lot of things. And I think that's how I eventually spiraled. And just the world was my oyster from there. And everything I attracted good by being confident and vocal and out there.
Yeah.
So I think for me, that is definitely a defining moment.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
For those who don't know what rickets is, you mind just breaking that down?
So rickets is a bone deficiency, and you're born with it. So it's the people with brackets, but the abnormal brackets, and there are a lot of limitations. So I got surgical correction.
Okay.
And they tried to fix it, but I'm like, you're still there,
Yeah.
And so you have these brackets, and it's because your bones are weak, like by the knee, right here. They're weak, and then they can't carry your body.
Sure.
So then they turn into brackets. So obviously you can get them straight through surgical correction. Limitations are stairs. We use the stairs when we came here. So limitations are stairs.
Yeah.
Running, I can't run to save my life. So if a dog chased me, I don't know what I would do. Probably sit down.
No. Yeah.
And yeah, I think that's just what rickets is. It's very it's clear to see sometimes, especially if there's no surgical correction, but sometimes people don't actually see it. A lot of people have always asked me, then are you really disabled? You don't look disabled. And then I have to go on and explain this whole story. Yeah.
I was also interested about that because when I was doing research on you and I saw how much of an advocate you are for disability awareness and inclusivity for disabled people, I was like,
where does this come from?
Yeah, where does it start and where does it end, kind of thing.
Yeah, and I think that's why, because a lot of people see me online, but they don't know I'm disabled. I don't really speak much about it. I told myself there will be a point in my life where I actually now use my disability as a tool to educate, to fight for more inclusivity in high schools. I mean, I had to do, is it LO sports? And I couldn't do it. And that's just because public schools at the time didn't have any policies around inclusivity. You'd have to go to a school for disabled people, and that's not what I wanted for myself, to now segregate myself or isolate myself from what is meant to be a normal life. So there are a lot of things that still need to be done, lots of things that still need to be corrected. And I think I'm hoping one day I can actually use like my platform, my following, to perhaps, educate people on what disability is. Perhaps even insofar as friendships are concerned, relationships, romantic relationships as a disabled person are also not easy. And even in your career as well, it's a bit shaky because people always feel, oh, how can we accommodate you? And I'm just like, if you knew about disabilities more, perhaps you wouldn't be asking that question.
At some point.
Yeah. So that's where the journey starts.
Thank you for sharing that.
Only a pleasure. I'm also happy to share that on a public platform. I try to speak about it, but I don't think people just really catch the gist.
They don't register.
Yeah, it doesn't register. It's just error 404. Yeah.
I think there's also that stereotype that when someone says that they're disabled, we assume we want to physically see the disability, or I guess hear the disability.
Definitely.
Right? But then there's also those disabilities where it's not that overt. And I guess that's where people come from when they start questioning, are you actually disabled or you're not disabled? But it shouldn't even be about that, because you are the one who still incurs the pain.
Definitely.
You're the one who has to struggle day in and day out. You're the one who had to go through the surgery. So it almost feels like they don't see you.
Definitely.
And it's tough. It's tough.
I think it is tough, and even in public spaces, you get like parking lot guards asking you, oh, you're disabled. I see you parking in the disability parking, and I'm like, okay, and I love wearing dresses. So then I just do this and I show them the scars.
No, man.
And I feel like it's so demeaning.
Yes.
Like it's embarrassing to say the least. But because I'm vocal, I don't mind. And I don't mind educating someone on that. But now think about this. If it's a shy person or someone who's not so confident, it's a whole different ball game. And I think so much we need to do. There's just so much we need to do so far as not just disability alone, you know, light-skinned girls, dark-skinned girls. There's so many stereotypes that I feel like just need to be addressed, and people need to actually start thinking.
Yes,
you know, to use the brain to think.
Yeah.
Valid. Definitely. You know.
Yeah. So you studied at the University of Limpopo. You did your LLB, and now you're doing your master's.
Yes, I'm doing my master's now also at the University of Limpopo.
Why did you decide to go into law?
Why I decided to go into law again comes back to the issue of disability. I'm big on human rights law. I'm big on, like you said, advocacy. And I just want to change the world one person at a time. I just have this brain that feels like, oh, okay, if I can touch one person, then I've changed the world.
Yeah.
So I don't have to touch everyone in the world, all this. So 13 billion, 8 billion, I don't know, people. But if I could just touch a few people's lives. So that's basically why I went into law, but also access to justice. I'm from what you deem Kasi. It's a small town in Limpopo, and there's not a lot of access to justice. There's not a lot of people who can actually afford attorneys and whatnot. And I think later in my life, after I've obviously just gained enough experience in drafting contracts and all this, you know, the luxury law, I actually want to go back into doing human rights law, you know, and as somewhat a retirement job to do something that actually fulfills me, to pay it forward, to give back into the world, perhaps work for an organization, an NPO, NGO, or anything, just to try and give legal services to those who can't accept it. And I think that's why I went into law specifically, because I just felt like we breathe the law, we eat the law, everything around the streets, the traffic signs and all of these things, everything is governed by law, you know, and I felt like that is the best place I could thrive and somewhat, you know, as a 17-year-old girl at the time, I think changed the world, you know. So I think that's why I went into law specifically. And then my master's degree, I just want to be a smart makoti. So I want to be
yes, girl,
doctor something. You know, by the time I get married. So I think it's for that, and also for my mom. It's not necessarily for me, but it's also just obviously to enrich myself, to educate myself. Sure, but I think I'm also doing it for my mom. There's no doctor at home. I want to be the first and just give back to my family and pave that way for my tens and thousands of siblings and nephews and nieces. You know,
I want to be that example for them.
Because if I fumble, I feel like I'm the eldest daughter, by the way, so I'm like deputy mom. So if I fumble, I think the whole lot of them would possibly fumble too. So that's also why I went into my master's, pursuing my PhD soon, hopefully. I intend on graduating in September for my master's. So God willing, I will register for my PhD in 2026.
Okay. Yeah. All the best. I hope that
really hope it goes well, because it's not easy. It's just draining. It's tiring. I mean, I had a deadline just now for Monday, and it comes just out of the blue sometimes. So you need to be willing to shapeshift. You know, But it's a great experience, and I think anything and everything too. I still believe education is a key to success. You know, I mean, it's brought me this far.
You spoke about shapeshift. I would imagine you did a lot of shapeshifting because you went from having a job. You served in that job, did what you needed to do, and then now you are post-job. You find yourself being unemployed. Been unemployed for about 4 months now?
4 months,
right? Yeah. So what kind of shapeshifting do you think you needed to do to be the person that you are now?
I think right now, obviously, post-employment, there's a lot of, like I said, self-introspection that happens. You go from being at the height and the peak of it all, and I have this job, and I wake up so excited because I know I'm going to do this and this and this today. There's order, there's strategy, there's routine, you know, and then you go from that to literally nothing. Wake up and it's vibes, you know, it's vibes, and wherever the wind blows, we go, you know. So there's a lot of shape shifting I had to do there. I had to now obviously train my mind to understand that this is the phase I'm in, and more than anything to try and kind of maintain the routine I had back then, which is not essentially to work, but essentially to keep busy. So now I had to slot in lots of different types of things to try and keep busy, keep my mind active. I still read a lot on the law. I watch the news a lot. And I also read a lot of self-improvement books, you know, obviously because I have so much time on my hands now. And I try to keep myself in touch with the law so that if there are any changes and I go back into a corporate or practice, at least I go in there with something, you know, I'm not just on brain freeze mode. So I had to do a lot of that. And just in terms of like my emotions and mentally, there's a lot that had to change. I went from being, not that I'm not independent right now, I'm so used to perhaps having everything under control, having everything go my way. There's just this routine. And now you have to go into adapting into the emotional constraints and financial constraints of unemployment. It takes a huge toll on your emotions. Even your relationships suffer with your family, your friends. Your relationship with yourself suffers, you know, and you question yourself a lot. You feel like you're not worthy. You feel like you're not capable. But at the end of it all, I just currently look at it as a journey. And I think everyone at some point in their life goes through something really bad that keeps them down bad. And I think for me, that is just that right now. And I'm trying to, my hardest and my best to see the positive in it all and trying to learn lessons and trying to see, okay, what can this teach me? You know, I'm overly emotional. What can I learn from this? I'm overly stressed. What can I learn from this? Is it better emotional management? Is it just changing my routine? What could it be that I could do better, you know, in this instance to try and just gather myself and like they say, stay the course until obviously I've stayed the course and I guess we're back to basics. So I'm just doing that, keeping positive optimism, no negativity. My family knows, I always tell them, look, if you want to shout, yell, scream, please do it far away from me because I'm just protecting my space. And that's what I'm doing lately. You know, I'm silent on a lot of things that hurt my feelings. Bad interviews, good interviews, everything. You know, chats that I have with people that I feel like remind me of my past self. Obviously, independent Bella who worked a corporate job and everything was in order. So if that chat hurts me, I'm most likely to go silent and just protect my space right now. And I think I've learned a lot emotionally and mentally just on how to navigate emotions as well. There's so much that this space has done for me. You know, so that's a lot of shape shifting you have to do, going from the strong, resilient person to a different kind of strong, resilient person. You know, yeah.
Well said. Got so much I want to ask about that.
Please ask, feel free. This was an engaging conversation, and I'm more than willing to just like share my story and just. I hope it touches, like I said earlier, I hope it touches, even if it touches one person and it changes one person's life, then I feel like God has used me. I am a testimony, and someone out there is going to do better because of what I said or what you said. You understand?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So in your unemployment, you chose to talk about your story. You talk about it quite extensively on LinkedIn. That's where I found you actually, and you share the honest truth about, you know, being on day X of unemployment and what you've learned, or having the honest chats about what unemployment looks like, etc. And first of all, I want to commend you for that because we don't see enough stories of people who are willing and open and vulnerable about sharing what it's like to be unemployed. And you do that so bravely. You do that so confidently almost. And you're so honest about, guys, they're good and bad days, and you talk about the bad days. You go deep into the bad days, and that also gives me inspiration that, you know, you can rise above. You can get over it. Sometimes it's tough, and you need to acknowledge the toughness, but you also need to keep telling your story because you never know who needs to hear it.
Definitely.
So that's incredible. That really is
Thank
incredible.
you so much.
I'm wondering what made you decide to want to share that part of your life, because you are, for those who don't know, like you are a social media influencer. You know, you're pretty big on Instagram, TikTok, etc. And that was, I'm assuming, post all of this when all of this happened. So what made you decide to take now a vulnerable approach to sharing this part of your life?
I think, and like I said, I'm from what you deem Gussie. There's a lot of people who ask questions. Oh, Bella's back home. What's going on in her life, and so many other things. And I feel like I want to share my truth. I believe there's so much power in the truth. There's so much power in saying, "Hey guys, I'm unemployed right now," and "Hey guys, I'm not in my best season right now," and then that makes it okay for someone who's maybe on the verge of depression, anxiety, perhaps even suicide, to keep going because you are going. You know, and I think it's more inspirational than it is anything. And the person who actually inspired me to go this way is a top recruiter in South Africa. His name is Rob Green. He did a career coaching session at my old firm, and he taught us how to draft CVs and cover letters. And look, this man is talking, and all I'm hearing is put yourself out there. And that's exactly what I did. I put myself out there to say, hey guys, I worked at this top law firm. Okay, I wasn't retained. I'm now unemployed. Look at me. If you want to hire me, I'm here. I'm willing to learn. There's initiative. I want to grow. And for me, at first, it started out like that for me to try and get another job by putting myself out there. Little did I know that there's so many unemployed people. The unemployment rate is ridiculous.
Yes.
For starters, and there's so many people going through it. And then I noticed that from my first few posts that so many people engage, a lot of impressions, like over 16,000. And I mean, that's crazy for LinkedIn. It's a professional platform.
Yeah.
And not a lot of people are as active in the professional space. And I thought to myself, oh my gosh, so many people are reacting to this. Why not just share your story? And from there, I think seeing the few little people that were commenting and saying, oh my gosh, I'm going through this. Thank you so much for this post.
Yeah.
And I just kickstarted. And now I'm on day 118 of unemployment. And I'm just going to keep going. I'm going to keep posting. And even when I get a job, I'll keep posting to say, hey, by the way, I got it. This happened. And you can still keep going. And I'll just keep sharing that journey. And I know it's inspirational for a lot of people. I think the biggest mistake people make is thinking you always need to be professional. You can't be vulnerable. You can't be real. And then everyone just wants to be the top dog and have no emotions, and then suppress your emotions, in fact, in public. And I didn't want to be that person. And more than anything, what I've learned through unemployment is I want to live my truth. I want to speak my truth. I want to be me. And me right now is vulnerable. So the me I'm going to share is the vulnerable me. The me I'm going to share is the human me. Because before the suit and the tie and then the court briefs and all of that, I'm human.
Yes.
And it's been great ever since. I don't want to lie. I'm fulfilled. I'm glad and happy to be sharing that part of me with so many people who don't even know me. And you get strangers on the internet saying, oh my gosh, I've never been so happy for a stranger, saying that to me, saying, you're sharing your story and this is great and we wish you all the best and all of that. And I think it keeps me going each day, actually. It keeps me going, especially on the bad days. And you look at people that you don't even know saying all of these things to you, all these kind messages, people telling you, hey, here's a job, please send your CV, and so many other things. And it just broadened my horizon from there, So I think we need to be human. We need to be vulnerable. And if it's that phase or season, then it's that phase or season.
Yeah.
Why suppress it? For who?
Yeah. I mean, it's a season for a reason also, right? It's not going to last forever.
It's not. I don't think so. I actually don't think so. And I think there's so much we learn from this, take away at least one lesson. And I think I've taken away so many, from this entire thing.
You can share what some of those are?
I think just emotional intelligence. Sometimes it's important to know when to react, when to post, what to post, because in as much as I'm vulnerable, I don't want to go on LinkedIn crying. I want to share my story, but I also don't want to be bluntly honest or overly honest about the day in and day out pressures of unemployment. I can tell you that the emotional pressures are crazy, the financial pressures are crazy, but I can't go too in detail about just how pressurous it is. For example, me telling you, oh my gosh, I couldn't even pay for ABCD today. So I've learned a lot of that, but also just a fresher approach at life, just to be grateful. The dreams you're living in right now, or wherever you are right now, is one day once upon a time your dream. And once upon a time I wanted to be an attorney. Today I'm awaiting admission as an attorney. Once upon a time I wanted to be in Gauteng, a girl from Limpopo in Gauteng chasing her bigger dreams, and here I am in Gauteng right now. Once upon a time I wanted a car, and here I have a car, and there are so many things to be grateful for. The gift of life, the gift of your mind actually working properly. I mean, there are people who, unfortunately, due to disabilities and so many other medical reasons, can't even use their minds. There are people who can't use stairs, like I said, and so much to be grateful for. Every day is a blessing, and there's so much. And I think for me, I always try to look back at my old pictures just as inspo to say, God has done this for you before. Life has been good before, and it will be soon. And then that keeps me going. But over and above everything, also just a support system. I learned that that's very important. My friends and family have greatly shown up for me. Not all friends, some, switched up because, hey, gang is now unemployed, but just the support system is absolutely important, whether it's friends, family, old colleagues, could be people at church, could be people at your running club, gym club, whatever the case is, a support system, or at least someone to talk to, about just the difficulties of life, or when you feel like, oh my gosh, I can't take today. So just that, and also just making smarter financial decisions. The minute you know now you are checking every cent coming in and out because you're unemployed, you start appreciating the fact that, or rather just self-introspecting on how you used to spend when you were employed. Where there's certain things were so unnecessary, certain decisions we made were so unnecessary. The lunch dates and the unnecessary shopping just because I want to feel better. And so many other things. And that you also learn that things like saving are important. You learn so much. And I think it definitely has molded me into a better person. I feel good. It's not a great season, I'm not going to lie. I struggle almost every day with one overthinking thought or the other or anything. And I just try to keep moving nonetheless, So those are some of the things I learned, just positivity and protecting my peace, knowing what I want as well, I think is absolutely important. I'm in this phase right now. I've obviously had a job. And now I'm looking for a job. I know exactly what I'm looking for. The kind of culture, the kind of people I want to work with, the kind of work I want to do, what I want to learn. I think I'm best placed right now to say, okay, if an offer was made to me and I feel like, something is off about this firm or something, I wouldn't necessarily take it. And unless I feel like I'm cornered too. But I think I know exactly what I want right now, and I know exactly what I can bring to the table. And I think one of my old partners at my last firm said to me that, look, you can be a hard worker, and you can be great at your job, but what matters more is attitude. So I know I have the right attitude. I'm still a junior in my career, but I have the right attitude, the attitude to learn, the attitude to take constructive criticism, the attitude to be professional, have great work ethic, to work over hours if needed. Just the attitude of it all can get you a lot of places, as opposed to not your experience, which is obviously what they're looking for. But there's so much more that goes into the normal working person. It's not just your experience. There's so many other things. Are you the right culture fit? Can you blend in with the team? Are you a team player? Are you good at communicating? There's so many other things that I think are not necessarily exposed during the interview phase. And then that's why employers get so shocked when people turn out to be what they are. And that's because I feel like we're so stuck with this rigid system of interviewing that we don't actually give people a chance based on even stuff like personality and attitude. There are people who are much more willing to learn, as opposed to some people, and I'm not shading anyone, but people who are experienced compared to people who are experienced, they may not necessarily have the same attitude. So there's so much that I've learned, and there's so much more I could share, but obviously I think I can go into it until tomorrow morning. But yeah.
So I'm curious, what is the solution then?
I think the solution obviously is to change law. Well, to change the legal fraternity. And I'm not talking about like a dynamic big shift. I'm talking about starting small, just the little things like HR screenings, when you screen people, doing personality tests, cognitive tests. I think that's so important. Giving someone an exercise and seeing how well they do, and I think you can tell a lot from some questions asked in certain assignments or activities, just to test the waters on how this person, how they hot, are they cold, what kind of a person are they a culture fit, is there initiative from them, do they want to learn, do they want to grow, what are their goals, 5-term plan, 5-year plan, 10-year plan, do they see themselves in this job, are they or do they just want a salary, or do they like our nice building, or whatever the case is, so I think there's a lot that can be done, so many things that still need to be changed. But it needs to start with the firms. It needs to start with the companies. And look, I'm just generally speaking, but that's just how I've seen, like, the hiring pool, the job market. And I think there's so much that still needs to be changed, and so much accommodation that still needs to be made, just to ensure that firms get the right people, but also individuals, us, and we also get the right firms.
Because as much as you're being interviewed, you're interviewing them as well. It's important you also ask the right questions so that you can get a sense of how they interact, what they like, and make sure that hopefully before you get in, it can align with your values and who you are. So I get that. That is so real.
Definitely, because I had an interview not so long ago, and from the interview already I could tell this is not my place.
Tense.
It was passive.
I've been there, by the way.
They were passive, condescending, perhaps. I don't know. And I told myself, do I see myself here every day?
Yeah. Hey?
Will I learn,
Yeah.
or will I be pushed around like a child? Will I have space to grow? And immediately in the interview, I already knew that no matter what, it's not for me. And you need to make that decision.
Exactly. And sometimes it's not worth almost selling your soul, in the name of getting a job.
Definitely.
So yes, I mean it's great to have a job, but sometimes you can't have every single job that gets thrown on you. I don't know. Just there has to be some kind of a balance. I mean, even when you experience the financial constraints, the emotional pain of not having a job, it doesn't mean that you must just accept any job that comes your way.
100%.
Unless you decide to accept a job in the name of it just getting you back into the job market, and then you'll look again.
Definitely.
But it's something that you have to decide for yourself. And I guess that's where self-introspection and the emotional intelligence comes in, for you to be able to sense when that job is not for you, but also to make the right decisions and make the difficult decisions.
I agree with that, and I think it definitely goes person by person, and everyone has their own preferences. I mean, I got a job offer in January in Cape Town.
Oh wow!
And I was like, no, Cape Town is far, guys. My family's in Limpopo. What am I gonna, just
opposites?
It doesn't make sense to me, And look, maybe right now, after I've seen everything, maybe I would have taken the job, if I knew that life would turn out like this. But in the same breath, I don't think it was practical for me, given the life that I wanted. That's why I want to be based in Gauteng. I think it's practical for me. I am a family-orientated person, and I still want to see family from time to time. They are my peace, my safe space, and I think Cape Town was a little bit too impractical for me. So I think it definitely goes person by person. I think someone else would have maybe taken up the offer.
Yeah.
So it's just a matter of making a decision that suits you and your needs at the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's talk about family and friends. You mentioned it's important to have a good support structure, especially when you're going through the most, right? But you also mentioned that certain friends kind of fell off while you were going through this journey. How do you navigate the loss of our friendships when you are in this phase of your life?
Honestly, it feels like grief. It's like now I'm in a phase of grief for my job that I no longer have.
Yeah.
So it's like double grief. You're someone at some point in my life that I loved, respected, I showed up for.
Yeah.
And I think one thing that people also don't talk about enough is, yes, you lost your job, but so many other things changed. Friends switch up. People lose relationships. People's relationships with their families even become strained, and so many other things. And I think for me, how I navigated that is, I think you need to get to a point where you understand the end goal. And for me, the end goal was, I need to get a job. I need to get out of the space. The end goal was, Bella needs to be okay.
Yeah.
More than anything and everyone right now, there's so much on my plate. I can't take on more. So obviously it was heartbreaking, but just like any other heartbreak, you delete memories, you delete numbers, you no longer talk to these people, and you move on. And then a few months later, it means nothing to you. I mean, I lost a friend in January. She started moving a little bit differently, and I think it was February actually, February, early March, and it really broke my heart. Even today, just speaking about it really breaks my heart, because it's someone that she was a bit older than me, so I really respected her. I loved her. And things just changed. How, I don't know, but a lot of it I reduced to unemployment and Bella not being the same Bella they knew. Pop champagnes, pop bottles, Bella is no longer there. But more than anything, I think it's important to not focus on that, but to focus on who stayed. Because those are the people that matter.
Yeah.
The people who show up for you, be it emotionally, mentally, financially, physically, being there with you in dark times. And I think that's where my key focus is right now. My focus is on, and no matter the arguments that I have with family, friends, but the people who stayed in this phase are the people that, regardless of how much they still hurt me here and there, stuff unrelated to unemployment, but I will always love and respect them because they still stayed. And I think it's important to focus your energy on that, as opposed to anyone who decides to leave. You need to let go and let God. And if you're losing a friend, let go and let God.
Yeah.
You'll ask yourself questions maybe later. I told myself I won't, because I'm just focused on so many other things right now. And if it's meant to be, it'll be friendships, relationships, relationships with old colleagues, your family, romantic relationships, the whole lot. And I'm definitely at that phase where I'm I'm just letting things be and letting God take control and charge of my life. And perhaps other viewers are not Christians, but just in a different breath, whatever God or system higher power you believe in, focus on that and believe that that higher power will guide you to where you're supposed to be. So with or without these friends that fell off or family members that switched up. I mean, I have a few family members a bit far off that also switched up, people who are trying to be too inquisitive about, okay, where's her life right now? And like I said, I've always lived my truth and I will continue doing so to the very end. And I think the very end is success. The very end is getting a good job, a job that I like with the right culture that I like, and something that fits my personality and that would love me and appreciate me for me and wouldn't want me to bend or shapeshift again, So that's just the end goal, not friends who decided that they want to leave. The door's always open. And perhaps I hope they close it after they leave, and
love that.
Yeah, they should just close it because we have no business then.
Yes.
We have no business. If you could leave me in that phase, then you have no business being with me when I'm at my peak.
Yes.
Yeah.
You don't deserve to even have a picture of what that looks like. Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, they don't deserve it.
Unless you see it on TikTok or social media or someone posts something, a congratulations, sure, you can have that. But other than that, they don't deserve to experience you in any way.
Yeah.
And I think one should just let go.
Yeah.
There's nothing you can do. I mean, we're all adults, most of us. And, you just let it be. Yeah. I think so choose you. It's very deep, actually. And it took me some time to get here because when I started losing a few friends and some friends don't pick up my calls anymore. And they don't respond to my texts. And it beats you up in the moment.
Yeah.
But in the greater scheme of things, there's nothing you can do.
Definitely.
But embrace it and understand that, okay, this is what's happening.
Yeah.
Where to from here? And where to from here means just letting go because it's either that or you're begging.
Nobody likes a
So
beggar.
yeah, choose your battle.
Yeah. I'm so grateful for the friendships that I have in my circle, and even my family, because like at one of the hardest parts of my life, my friends showed up. My family showed up. Yes, like you said, they're the odd one or two who would, like ask weird questions or like move very weirdly. But for the most part, my friends showed up for me, and I'm particularly thinking of my friends because they're more people that I spend more time with. Like my family, obviously, you get the calls, you get the texts, you get the check-ins, and I'm grateful for that. I'll always be grateful for that. But with my friends, it was like they showed up for me in ways that I couldn't even imagine. To the point where when I reached a point where like financially it wasn't happening anymore, they filled the gap for me. Whether it is driving to pick me up and then going back to their places, taking me out for lunch or covering whatever I needed. And that is such a gift.
I think it is a huge gift and you should be grateful you're blessed.
I'm so lucky because if I had to go through this alone, I don't know where I'd be today.
100%. Really and then the chat about the support system comes back that you need that, and I think I can resonate. I've had friends send me money. I've had friends, sometimes money that you don't even ask for, but they know Bella's not going to say anything. And then they just show up for you, and it's absolutely astonishing. It's amazing. And you just ask yourself, why am I so blessed? And I think that's also one thing to look at when you're in this dark phase, to say, hey, in hindsight, I'm blessed.
Yes.
And I have these people around me that actually love and adore me. I have a reason to live. I have a reason to keep pushing.
Yeah.
I have a reason to keep, applying and something that keeps me going. And it's these very people, like you said, who pick you up or take you on lunch dates,
Over and above even the financial element to it. I mean, it's also like, they answer your calls, they are willing to be a lending ear, they send you posts, people who just check in on a random basis to make sure that you're still okay and you're still functioning and everything. And like, it gets to a point where, because for me, the longevity of being unemployed also started to creep in with my friends and my family. And, they also start to ask, okay, but why is she like unemployed for so long? And they're entitled to their feelings. It's real, but being able to have an open and honest conversation with them as well, so that we can kind of like meet each other where we're at is so crucial. And I got that with my friends as well. And I'm so grateful. Like, I'm so grateful. And I did mention to you as well that this is not the hardest thing I've been through, but it's high up there, and being able to experience that with my friends, and we kind of like grow together and all of this, not knowing where things are going to end up or how things are going to work out, etc. It has been a gift for me, and I'm grateful that at the worst of it, God had people show up for me. So but
also again, in hindsight, you just look at it and you're like, the only thing you can do is be there for each other and understand that one is going to be up, one is going to be down, and sometimes it will all just be great. But just in conclusion, life is not that deep. It's really not that deep, and just be there for one another. Like it's just a phase. That's it. It's literally just a phase, and eventually it's gone. And then back to friendship and back to all those other things. But all you need is, like you said, people who are there for you, even emotionally, mentally, and people who can support you. Take your call. I call my best friend so much, and some of my other friends, and I call them so much, and I just feel like sometimes, oh my gosh, Bella, why are you calling so much? But they never ever make me feel like that, and I think you need that support system. You need that friends, partners, anything, someone who you can cry to, and lash out or say, hey, by the way, I need advice on ABC. What do you think? I want to apply for this. Is this line in my cover letter fine? I thought ABC, and just get guidance, So it's much more bigger than financially or emotionally injecting yourself into someone.
Both aren't just showing up and holding space for each other. I think that's really the crux of it.
True, because life is difficult,
Yeah. We're all going through it, man.
At some point, like you're saying, we're all going through it. And when I look at unemployment right now and all the stories and the horror stories people are sharing, people are actually going through so much worse. And I think, look, it's not a good thing to say, but I always say, that's what keeps me going, because I feel like, Bella, you're not going through the worst. You're just being overly dramatic right now, And again, it brings me back to saying life is not that deep. There's challenges, and challenges make or break you, and you need to decide what you want that challenge to do for you. Is it going to empower you, or are you just going to be in bed sulking every day and not waking up and not showering or not doing anything actually? And you can stay stuck in that phase for a very long time if you don't actually become proactive.
At some point you have to pick yourself up and keep it pushing you.
And no matter what, I mean, even if you don't eventually get a job, you might actually find some other venture or something that keeps you driven, keeps you focused, keeps you pushing, and then just gives you the necessary adrenaline. So for as long as you're in bed until from 7 a.m. till 7 p.m. sulking and scrolling through sad videos on TikTok, I don't think there's a lot of growth or progression that is going to come out of that.
At some point you have to be productive, and productive can look like many different things, but like you have to be productive, and you have to fight for your life, man.
True.
You really have to fight for your life. And that's something that I started telling myself in 2023 when I was like, you have to fight for life worth living. That's it. So this is a fight. That's all it is. And like you said, it's season, no pause. Life is up and down, man.
Sure.
You just have to keep going no matter what.
And I actually posted something like that this morning on WhatsApp, and I said, where would I be without my resilience? Because my one of my previous senior associates actually said I'm like an ambulance. I cry but I move. And then I'm like, that's what you need to do in life. One of my pastors said on Sunday, just this past Sunday, that look, you're probably going to be going through a lot, but if you're not proactively doing something about it to change that situation, you'll keep crying and saying, oh my gosh, I'm not getting a job offer. But are you applying?
Yes.
Are you putting yourself out there? Are you talking to people? Are you connecting to people on LinkedIn? Are you going door to door, dropping your CV? What are you doing? Are you just waiting for some miracle to, fall out of the sky? And I think that's important, to be proactive, So to be resilient through it all and to push yourself and do something, and I think something will give for as long as you try as well.
Do you think your faith has been shaken by this experience?
100%. 100%. I've had nights where I'm just like, oh God, where are you, dog? Did you forget me? I mean, even on the way in the car here, I was like, yo, and this makes me so emotional, but I'm just thinking to myself, where are you? And I really hope it actually works out.
It will.
I really, really hope it works out.
It really will.
I'm a big crybaby. My boyfriend knows this.
Really?
I cry so much anytime and every time. So
it must be so nice to be like in touch with your feelings like that?
I think it's good. I love being in touch with my feelings, and people always say to me, "Oh my gosh, Bella, you're melodramatic."
No, man.
And not in a bad way, but more than anything, I think it's good to, like you said in the card to me, you said feel it.
Yes.
You said feel it, and I think it's important to allow yourself to just go through it. And it's difficult. I still struggle. I suppress my feelings a lot because everyone knows me as a strong person and I stand on business, and I huff and puff. But again, like I said earlier, you're human. And definitely there'll be things that really hurt your feelings. So my faith has been shaken. I've asked God a lot of times, dude, where are you? Okay, it's getting a bit embarrassing, dog. Like, send me a job now. And I talk to God like he's my friend. And sometimes when like I said earlier on to you, when I was doing the dishes, I was actually saying a prayer and I was literally like having a conversation with myself. But I knew I was talking to God. And I was just saying how I feel and what I want, what I've learned, and that I think I've learned enough. That this phase has brought me it created a shift and the necessary shift. And that's why yesterday I went on LinkedIn to post, guys, I'm ready. I'm now ready for a job. I've allowed myself to sit in it and to just think about what this is all about, what this unemployment hype is about. And it's real, and so my faith has been shaken, but I try to go to church a lot. I also posted this morning that if there's one thing that would make me feel really good, it's to see our pastor's name, we call him Rev, like Reverend, is to see Rev preach. Because I feel like every time he preaches, just talks to me, and I feel better. I feel like I go to church to charge. And I struggle with prayer as well, so I struggle with prayer, especially in this phase. I've been finding it very difficult to pray because I feel so demoralized sometimes, or I feel so down and out, or I feel like the world is out to get me. So I struggle to pray, but I've really been trying to make it a habit, so much so that I think my numbers on TikTok are spiraling because I share like almost daily prayers for unemployed people or people going through the most. And I think that for me, when I draft people these prayers to say, hey, have you prayed, by the way? If not, let's pray. And then I draft the prayer. For me, it's also a way of me keeping consistent in prayer. Because when I do that for people, I feel obliged to continuously do it. And I think that's how I got back into the habit of praying. And now I pray. Sometimes I have random conversations. It doesn't always have to be dear Heavenly Father and amen. It can literally just be you talking. And I know God, wherever he is, hears you. So it's going to be very difficult. It is very difficult for me. I'm not always perfect. I'm not always the perfect Christian. But I really, really try to keep my faith on track and to try and talk to God as much as I can about this whole thing. And also just to tell him what I want, but also to understand that everything will happen in God's perfect time. It's not going to happen as in how I planned it, So I'm just allowing myself to feel. I'm allowing myself to fail as well in prayer, to not pray sometimes. I'm allowing that to happen, but I'm also trying to actively correct it. And I don't think it's going to be something that you change overnight. It's definitely a process. You sit in it, and it just gets better day by day. And I think right now where I am, as opposed to where I was in January when I initially became unemployed, I'm so much better in prayer and faith. And that's because I've been trying to become consistent, but it's also just a journey, and it's like a relationship between you and God, and it's not always going to be perfect, but if there's one thing you need to do is keep faith. And I think that's why I've been trying my best to just remain consistent and be consistent.
I think it all boils down to intentionality as well. And hearing you talk about like the prayers you put on TikTok and like actively going to church, etc. You're intentionally putting in the effort to keep your faith alive. And at the same time, faith is not linear. It's very up and down. I can't remember where I saw this, but actually I heard it in a sermon on Sunday. God works in the spaces where there's doubt. Just because you're doubting your faith, you're doubting God, you're doubting where he's at, doesn't mean that now he's not there. He hears you, he listens to you. That's where he's the most active. And right now he's moving, he's just moving in silence, right? So now the moving in silence is where it gets frustrating because you want to know, man. You want to have answers to these things. You want to hear him.
Like, make it make sense.
Like, at least give you a sign. Some kind of a sign that, like, no, it's not happening now, but it will happen next week Friday or whatever.
Email or something.
So you want to hear him, and you realize that, it could be a multitude of things. Maybe he's talking, but you're not hearing him. maybe he's talking in a language you can't hear at the moment. Maybe he's not talking, but it doesn't mean that he's not there, you know. But through it all, we know God is omnipresent. He's always with us. And right now, this is how things need to be, because maybe there's something that you need to heal from, learn, or experience before you can reach the next step. He's preparing you, essentially. And the preparation is violent. It's not lie. This being unemployed is a very violent experience, because it just questions a lot. I mean, like we said, it questions your financial, who you are financially, questions in your emotions, your family, your friends. It just,
and your mental health.
Your mental health. Ooh, the mental health one is real. It really just questions and puts everything into question.
Yeah.
And then in that, you somehow have to scramble for your faith. You somehow have to hold on to it for dear life. And you have to find a way to keep going.
Yeah.
And some days are better than others. Some days you get the glimmer of hope of God telling you, I'm here. Other days it's dry. It's dry. You don't know how to pray. You don't know how to open your Bible. You don't know how to. You go to church, but it's just like you're blankly there. Just a blank stare. You're not really feeling or hearing.
True.
And it's tough. It's so tough. But one thing that I've also learned from this journey of being unemployed is he's there. Yes, he might not be front facing right now. Yes, you might not hear him. And yes, it might not feel like he's in the room. But like, I've just reached this conclusion where I'm like, okay, he's in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
And then he's in the house. And then someday he'll be in the room and he'll gift you with whatever you need to be gifted with. And I mentioned this to you off camera as well, to say that sometimes when it's a fight for your faith, things look different.
Yeah.
They look absolutely different. And I also shared with you, I was like, it just reached a point where there were people around me who got unemployed after me, who got jobs before me. Literally one by one, they were dropping like flies, getting jobs. And it makes you so happy. Like, you're so happy for them. But it also makes you feel some type of way as well. And
like, when is my turn?
Exactly. And both can exist at the same time. You can have instantaneous joy for your friends who are getting these jobs, and still feel grief for yourself and question when your time is going to come.
And it doesn't come from a point of jealousy.
It's life. It's life.
Yeah.
It's life. I mean, how can we expect you not to feel those feelings, right? But yeah, sometimes it just is the way it is right now, because this could be a fight for your faith.
So
and it just looks completely different for you than it does for everybody else. And also, your job might not look the way it looks for Tom, Dick, or Harry, who is unemployed for a week and then gets a job. Sometimes it takes longer because maybe you're being prepared for something bigger.
Yeah.
Or the job isn't ready for you yet. Maybe you're gonna fill the role of somebody else who's gonna walk away from that job, and right now they're still in the job. Maybe you're gonna go to a job that gives you more purpose. Maybe you're meant to be in that specific job for a specific reason. And for now, it's just about sitting tight and doing what you gotta do to prepare yourself for that. Because, like you said, mentally as well, it's also a mental battle. And maybe I guess this is a good way to segue into the mental health.
Yeah.
How do you keep going mentally when you are in the struggle? Yeah, what does that look like for you?
I think for me, my mom is big on, for example, just church and God, and I think for me, a lot of that looks like prayer. And I'll be honest, it's not always been perfect. I mean, I think December, January, I almost became an alcoholic. I was sinking and drowning in it. And unfortunately, that's just the ugliness of it. And that's how it sometimes will look like. And I'm not saying illegal substance abuse. I'm talking about legal substance abuse, but it'll look like that. And right now where I am, I hardly drink. And I think I've detoxed from that sadness. I allowed myself to feel what I needed to feel back then, the sparkling wines and all these other things, drinking. So I think you definitely need to let that happen for you to be in a mentally fit space. And I'm not saying I'm fit right now. There are obviously still struggles, but I think to be able to let go of that struggle, you need to deal with your emotions. And dealing with your emotions, like I said, might not always be pretty. You might have to do things that are so out of character. Behave in a way that's so out of character. And I've done all of that. And I think for me right now, it's just a lot of church that keeps me going. It's a lot of the kind of content that I consume. It's the kind of people that I keep around me. people who pour back into me, but also just having a friend who's going through the same thing. So today is my day to vent, and then tomorrow she's there, and then on one day we're both just on a 2 hour call just talking about, oh my gosh, how did we get here? And I'm lucky enough to have a friend from my old firm who was also not retained, and we're now doing this thing together, and it's actually two of them. So we're all just doing this thing together, and we're just today it's this one's day and tomorrow is that one's day, and I think we're just allowing ourselves to speak about it. So I think to speak about it is absolutely important. I mentioned to you off camera that I also went to ChatGPT. People find it strange, but I think that's the safest thing to do in the world. You won't find your files on a gossip page on Instagram. That, oh, by the way, this one, she's going through what. No, so I also use a lot of these mechanisms. I watch a lot of positive TikTok, so I follow a lot of these pages, and then it just creates I built my algorithm, to see some good Bible verses. So I have my Bible app that sometimes just sends me a verse, and more than anything, Google has also been like very important, because whatever I'm feeling in the moment, I would just search Bible scriptures for sad moments, and then I would just go through it. And I think mentally it's kept me sane. My family has kept me sane. Oh my gosh, my family has been absolutely amazing. My little sisters, people who are in varsity, are carrying me now. They know my struggles because they've also experienced the great me. They know when Bella shows up, she shows up for real. But now they're also showing up for me, which is something that I don't necessarily expect from people who are younger than me, but my sisters who are like 2-3 years younger than me, they've carried me. And look, I'll say this on camera because I'm not embarrassed about my journey, but sometimes I'll be like, yo guys, send 1,000 or send 500, I'll sort you out. And then they understand, because I know they get the NS fast, and my parents sometimes give allowance. And even just like my parents themselves, they've been so supportive. My mom has been absolutely supportive. My dad, sending me whatever. And look, we're talking about the financial part of it all, but they also sometimes check in emotionally, and I think that's so, so, so important. So that's what kept me going through just the mental health struggle of it all. I think support system. I think also allowing yourself to go through some of those feelings. And even though you're acting out of character, it says nothing about you. It's just a phase. And I think it's important to deal with that, or else it's going to be like a balloon that bursts when it's not supposed to. So I could burst in an interview. I could burst in a professional setting if I haven't dealt with those feelings. And right now, I think I've dealt with the majority of them all. I mean, obviously, like, I was emotional right now, but that's because this is just disheartening on its own, But I think it's important to allow yourself to feel it, and then be gracious to yourself, like be graceful and gracious, and then I think be kind to yourself. I always say a lot of positive things about myself. I like looking at my old pictures just as like, oh my gosh, you've been this girl, you'll be back. Just as some sort of an inspo, to say, you've been great before and you're going to do it again. And you became great at the time because you are great. So I look at a lot of how I speak to myself, the affirmations. Sometimes I just sit and I say to myself, especially when I feel under pressure, and I just say, you've got this, or it is what it is. And I just say something to myself to keep me going. But I think it's a lot in the mind and not allowing yourself to spiral, because if you give into that pressure, Lord knows what's going to happen. I've never seen what it looks like yet, but I can only imagine it looks like depression and anxiety. I mean, at some point I was very anxious. I still am. I was telling someone last night that I couldn't have lunch the whole day because I was anxious the whole day. And that's what it looks like. And sometimes I'm allowing that whole thing to just happen to me until I feel fine enough. Sometimes I force myself to eat because I know at this point you need to eat. So I think just over and above everything, yes, it's a struggle mentally, but allow things to happen and allow it to play out, like an opera choir. Let the music play and it's going to end at some point,
The most important thing you can do for yourself in this journey is to process and deal with the emotions every day. Whether it is sadness the one day, anger the next day, frustration the other day,
and happiness even sometimes.
Even happiness, even gratefulness for the time that you have. This is time that you might never ever experience again. It is so important for you to feel the feelings, and feel the feelings and as deeply as you possibly can, because it's important for your healing. It's important for your recovery as well. So thank you for sharing that part. I think that is the most important thing that I learned from my own experience of being unemployed. And it's not easy. It really isn't easy. Even sometimes showing up for other people, while you are sad, while you are frustrated, and showing up for people who have jobs or have some kind of achievement going on in their lives, and trying to be as supportive for them as well, while still dealing with it. It's real. And it's important to acknowledge that as well.
Definitely.
Even communication, sometimes talking to your friends and being like, yes, I'll come to whatever event you have going on, but just know that I'm not at my best right now. I'll show up for you because, you deserve to be celebrated, but I might not be at my best. So just know that. Or if you can't even bring yourself to show up, having that honest conversation with the necessary people around you is real. So, yeah, that's very important. Thank you for sharing that. We've been touching on points with relation to financial constraints. And I want us to talk about that as well, because that is also really real. I mean, when you don't have a job, financially, it cripples you.
It does. I'm not gonna lie.
And I think I also want to caveat here that, like, for me, it's been a financial up and down as well. Going from having a salary to not having a salary. And I mentioned to you as well, off camera, that I got into a car accident and I lost my car. I guess what helped me with that is I was able to get a payout from my insurance, which helped sustain me after my savings dried up. That's gotten me to where I am now. But now it's just also now grappling with the fact that that's done. And financially now it's like, okay, what do I do now? Family is there and they help. So, and you've mentioned that they've also come through for you. And for me, it's also been the case. And sometimes for me, I feel like there's a bit of a burden. I feel like a burden when it comes to asking for money. And I know I'm not the burden. And it's not the case, But sometimes you just get into your head so much, and you start feeling like, this is the 10th millionth time I'm asking my dad for money, or this is the 50th time I'm asking my mom, or now this person is sending me money, and it's tough. And I've even gotten to a point now where I've had to sell my certain things in my flat because I financially am needing the money, I'm cash strapped, and you mentioned earlier, sometimes well, I'm not sure if you mentioned this actually, but like as you were talking, I was thinking about this. That sometimes financially it is tough, and you have to make some tough decisions, right? And I'm also using this as an opportunity to testify because I haven't actually spoken about reaching the part where now I've gone to having to sell some of my things. Thank you. The part that you mentioned was you start to realize that there's certain things that you don't need in life, and like for me also, it's like I've come to realize that sometimes it's just stuff. These are things that you can get rid of. And it doesn't take away from you. Like you start to question the things that you bought when you were working. Like why the hell did I buy the coffee machine? Like I didn't need it. I never even used it. And that's why I can get rid of it. And you start to realize what is important, what isn't important. I don't need to have like a full set of wardrobe of clothes. I don't need to have like the big furniture and the expensive stuff. Sometimes it's just okay to be the person that I am and have certain things that I need for now. And I'm circling to a question here. So I wanted to ask you the financial implications. How do you think that's affected you? Like, how do you think and how do you manage that actually?
I mean, I think first things first is sorry about the not the interview. Oh, I'm thinking interviews. Oh, 11 locate me. I'm sorry about the furniture. I actually also got to a point where I was like, your stuff is in storage. Why not sell it? I mean, you bounce back.
Yes,
yeah. I thought about it, but in the same breath, I think also that looks differently for a lot of people. Because, for example, I had to move home. I'm talking about 250 kilometers away from what I've known to be life. And I think that has been so difficult. Where I'm from, nosy people always ask me, "Oh, she's home. What are you doing now?" And they ask my siblings. They never ask me because I am very, very honest to people, and I will tell you how. Why are you asking me such personal things? Where do you want to take the information? I'm very. So I think people are also scared of me with respect to that. I'm actually glad I'm addressing this on a podcast. If they watch, then they'll know. That I said it myself. But just the financial constraints. It was good at first. Savings was there. Mandy, Hennessy are flying. I'm just like, man, I'm gonna get a job in a month. That's what I thought. That's what I thought. A month became 2, became 3, became 4, and now I'm on the 4th month, and I'm just like, well, this is awkward. So a lot of friends have had to show up for me, and I always say to my friends, asking for money is embarrassing. I don't want to lie, it's embarrassing. It takes away from who you are, but in that moment, you're in need. So I have friends that I know that no matter what, the same way I've always, even in the past, and I don't want to really talk about how I've shown up for my friends in the past, but the same way I've shown up for them before, I know these are people who show up for me no matter what.
Yeah.
And I'm so blessed to have such people. My dad, my mom, my family, my brothers, my elder brothers. We usually like borrow each other small monies, but it's money that helps you go. Like it's money that helps you with the small things like petrol and this and this and this. And I'm like, borrow me this, I'll give you win-win. Give me this, I'll give you win-win. Sometimes you don't even have to return it.
Yeah.
So it's just it's a flowing thing. And I think most importantly, I think it's important for anyone who's unemployed to try and at least have some sort of a source of income. It doesn't have to be big. So it could be reselling something, and there's so many things you can do. I mean, I remember in varsity, I used to sell Brazilian wigs. And I was sitting on money at the time. It wasn't a lot, but for a varsity student, it was a lot. I mean, I was able to live very comfortably. And I've thought of going into such things. I recently had a gig at the University of Limpopo. I was hiring out graduation attire, and it gave me some money to keep going. So I think it's always so important to, one, obviously have people that no matter what. She's not going to go post on an Insta blog that, oh, by the way, Bella borrowed money from me, or Bella asked for help with this and this and that. But also, in as much as I said asking for money is embarrassing, there's no shame, because people know you at your peak, and they know this is just a phase. And I think anyone who's wise and smart enough to actually use their brain would understand that there's nothing wrong with it. And we all go through that rough patch. You could be employed and still going through a little bit of a financial hiccup. So I think it's important to, I guess, have that support system in terms of friends and family, but also just to look into other ways that you can, in the interim, have money. There was a gig that I started. I was drafting CVs and cover letters because English is my thing.
Yes, girl.
So and I made some money from it, and I was able to patch here and there and there and there. And obviously, first thought again, it's like, oh my gosh, you're an attorney, but you're doing this. But in the same breath, I'm just like, guys, I have bills to pay. I have things to do. And whatever I need to do for money, as long as it's obviously moral, I will do it. So if it means drafting a CV, I will do it. If it means checking a cover letter, I will do it. If it means selling hair or selling cups or this or that, that I need to look into. So I think it's important for anyone who's going through that phase really to try and have some sort of an income, and it could be a lot of things are even online, because you just have a supplier, you're the middleman, and then you supply to the client. So there's so many ways. I think for me, that's what it's been looking like. So from obviously getting the job, there was savings, it was great. I thought I'm going to get a job. And I'm not going to lie, the more the months go, the drier it gets. I'm just happy that I have people who actually support me. And look, it's not always looking great. It's not always looking great. Sometimes it's really, really dark. And you're sitting on a radio bank balance, 13 rand, 13.57. And then sometimes it looks good and you have some real money in your account, and you're able to decently pay your bills, pay for the things that matter, life policies, number card tracker, insurance and whatnot. And I think it's also just important to cut off some things. There are certain things I had to cut off all my clothing accounts. I was big on shopping. I love shopping. I even have a Shein cart that I was filling the other day. I don't know where I thought the money would magically come from, but I was just adding to cart. I was adding to cart. And so those are things that need to go. So unless there's an absolute need, but I think I've done enough shopping in my career at the time. That if I need a dress for an interview, I have. If I need a dress for church, I have. If I need to go this and that place, I have. So I think there's a lot of things that one just needs to cut off. Like obviously, I used to spend a lot of money on going out so much. I think the bulk of my salary was always on going out and having fun and whatnot. And I've had to limit that as well. And I think, yes, it was painful in the beginning, but now it's brought me more calmness. Like I feel like I'm definitely at a phase where I'm not going to go out because of peer pressure or because I want to be seen or because I want to live for people, but I'm going to go out because I feel like I need it. I'm going to go out because I feel like I need a break, or I just want to have margaritas and margaritas and margaritas, or this, I want to try out this food. But for valid reasons, to spend on things for valid reasons. I think we loosely spend when we're employed. You buy so many things that, like you said, you don't need. And I think this phase has definitely taught you to keep your money close to you. And that's one thing I'm grateful for. And like I said, it's not always been easy financially. People say I carry it well. I really think I do. But they don't know. They don't know in the corners. Tricky. Tricky. And just keeping afloat is difficult. But again, you're not living for people. You're living for your happiness and for you to be fulfilled, And I don't necessarily have to go on WhatsApp and say, oh my gosh, guys, I'm broke. I'm not going to do that. But I'm just going to keep to myself and embrace the period, embrace the phase. And but I think it gets better financially eventually. I just hope that obviously another difficulty could be keeping up with bills, in a sense that you could get blacklisted, you could get your credit score going down. So it's always important to also prioritize those things. I think for me, that is the bulk of my worries over time. When I get to the 25th, I start being moody. I start being moody now that I'm unemployed, because I want to just get these important things out of the way. That stuff like about tracker, which is absolutely important, for example, insurance, absolutely important, life policies, absolutely important, just to name a few, and that's why I become moody, because where's the money coming from? Obviously, it means now I need to work on it. I need to do this and do that and make things come together, know. And like I said, I think my family has also shown up for me in ways that I think I'm just truly grateful. I can't begin to imagine how my friends, if I didn't have my friends and family, where I would be. I've had friends who've bent for me, people who have done, like they've went all out just to say, hey, Bella, I know you need to do this and this and this and this, so let's do this and this and this. I can help you by doing this, and I don't want to just dive too deep into it, but people really show up for you, and I think it's important to keep those people close to you as well. But financially, it's not easy. Just in conclusion, it's not easy. We need money. We need money and serious money. Sometimes I just randomly sit and I think, what, a young 500K would just solve this whole thing for me.
I thought that
too. Just a young 500K. It's not a lot, surely. Just one or two lotto numbers. I've played the lotto too. I've played aviator. I've done a lot of weird things just to try and see, man, what, maybe God has been testing me, and what if I just have to play this lotto and I'll actually, and it never really works out. But at least you tried. So I think that's good. But also, if you've tasted money before, lack of money should not scare you. It should not scare you, because what it needs to do is to push you to a space where you're like, never again. And I think for me, just this imbalance, having money and not having money, having money and not having money, being able to pay for my bills, and then now it's looking a bit shaky. It's pushed me into a corner where I always say to my mom that this is the last time you will ever see me like this. You'll never ever see me like this again. And then I'm embracing it, sure. I'm learning, sure, but I never ever want to be in this phase again. I will do everything in my power that's legal to never come back here again. So I think financially, it's just the pits. It's real. If someone has, I don't know, $1 million lying, they could just send it to us, and I think we'll just take half, and our problems would just be, and I would be in heaven, right? To be honest. But the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna go drink lots of cocktails just to debrief and think, okay, here's the money, now what now? But it gets better. I know it will. I definitely know it will.
I think I'm a bit further in the unemployment game than you are, because I've been unemployed for couple of months longer, and I have reached a point where I have had to go to my parents and ask them, okay, what are we going to do about my place, right? And like right now, I'm not paying for my place. I will be very honest about that. I'm not paying for that. I'm grateful that I've got parents who are helping me out on that front. I've reached a point also where I could pay my bills, and now suddenly I really could not pay for them anymore. And that's when, guys, it's very difficult, but you have to have conversations with people and make those payment arrangements. And even when you don't know where the money is coming from, like I had to send some very awkward emails to people that I owed for my bills, and be like, listen, I did have money, now I'm unemployed, don't know what to do. Can we set up some kind of a payment arrangement, and then like keep them updated as well. And they're very nice, guys. Like the one that I have is with my cell phone company, where it was like less than a 5-minute conversation. I told them, listen, I had money, I don't have money anymore. I'm working on getting the money, but like, what can we do? And she was like, no, not a problem. Set up the arrangement for you. We won't turn off your cell phone. We won't cancel it. You said you're gonna pay on this date. You think you can make it? If not, please let us know. And it should be sorted.
Sure.
And it's because you're well, for me, I think I'm backed up by having the honest conversation, my credit score as well, and just knowing that I had money, now I don't. They can see that as well. Your credit score gets affected. Like you said, I know for sure.
And it goes to the pits.
It goes to hell. It's going to hell right now. But I don't know why I've got this over. I don't know if it's me being like blindly confident or blindly assured, but I've got this reassurance that it will grow back. I mean, it's a number, right? It goes up and down, up and down. I mean, the aim is for it to be at its highest, obviously. But it's not for nothing. If it's starting to trickle down, it doesn't mean it's going to stay at this forever. I'm not going to be unemployed forever. We're not going to, like, there's no way in hell that we're going to be unemployed forever. It's just the way that it needs to be right now. And it will get better.
100%.
And yeah, so I had to meet my fear in the face because that also really scared me.
But I think that's actually smart. Just sending out, look, it feels like so sad when you send the email, but like if you make the arrangement and you eventually do, and they're so welcoming, I think it gives you peace of mind to breathe a little bit, and also then go through the rest of your other stuff while you also figure out, okay, I made this arrangement. I think that's really smart.
Definitely. Not to say that the fear goes away completely. It doesn't, but it gets better when you start having the honest conversations. And I think that's a kind of low that I never thought I'd be in, but at the same time, it's not for nothing. It's not a low for the sake of being a low. I also learn a lot about my capacity, I guess, financial capacity, emotional capacity, and how much I'm willing to actually have the difficult conversations. It's not easy. It really isn't easy, but it's necessary. And sometimes you just have to do the necessary thing to try and salvage this mess, because it's a mess. It's messy. It's not nice. It's very icky.
It's icky, 100%.
It is what it is, and it's not going to be like that forever. And eventually, I'll get to a point where I'm already rebuilding. I really am. It's slow and painful and violent, but it's a rebuild nonetheless. So yeah, I think it's important to see that side of the world.
Sure. And just to be positive, also, I see obviously a lot of positivity from what you're saying, and just being calm. What I'm sensing is also calmness, because for you to make the payment arrangements and for you to do all of that meant you needed to be calm, and you needed to sit and strategize, and like I said, not sit and sulk. So I think that's actually really big, and I'm gonna try also doing that for me. Just to try and sit and be calm and think, okay, here's the problem, how can I fix this? Here's the problem, how can I fix this? Even if it's not financial, what if it's also emotional or mental? Just to sit down with these things and confront them, because I think, like you said, you've been unemployed for a few months more than me, so obviously you've seen more. But I appreciate that wisdom. I think it is an eye opener for me, because sometimes I can preach here and sit the whole day and say be positive and whatnot, but that's not what life looks like off camera, And I'm not saying I'm not being honest about my journey, but I'm saying, look, it gets realer than this. It gets realer than this 2 seconds of crying, because it gets to a point where you don't want to eat, where you spend the whole day in bed sometimes, and that's just how it looks sometimes. It looks like not eating. It looks like avoiding calls. It looks like not talking to people, you know. It's very ugly. Like you said, it's very violent. But it's important to, I guess, regain your calm, and then try to strategize and find solutions, because I think I sometimes let my emotions get to me.
That's fine.
And I just, I got down, and I go with it, hey. But then I end up feeling better afterwards. Still, I feel like I honor my feelings and I allow myself to feel them, and I just move on from there. So, but it's so dark. It's just, it's not cute.
It's not easy. It sucks so much, but it needs to suck right now, and then the breakthrough will come. Right?
True, because I mean, obviously we've learned a lot, and I think I feel ready. I feel equipped. I feel like I've been shaken so much. So many things have happened. Shocking things, losing friends, finances going downhill, uphill, downhill. Mentally, I'm happy today, sad tomorrow, crying the next, angry the next. Short temper. Though I had a 3-week phase of short temper. I can't remember when, but I was so short tempered. And I was at home at the time with family, and everyone was like, something is wrong with you. And I think that's just, there's so much that goes on in this phase, and people don't tell us. People, they don't say anything online, and people don't talk about this enough. And so many people actually really go through this. Yeah. It's horrible, and but I know for sure that, like I said, you get out of it, and you're so much better. I think when I get my next job, I'll have a better attitude towards things, and I'll have a clearer view, as to what I want and how to navigate emotions mentally, and just in terms of even finances, now saving better, making better arrangements in case something like this ever happens again, God forbid. Yeah. Understanding and actually appreciating the value of money. And not just adding things to your cart for the sake of it at 2 a.m. because you're bored. Oh gosh. Yes. Yeah. All right. I want us to play a game. Okay. So I'm gonna bring up the deck of cards. I usually do this at the end of all my podcast episodes. Sure. Okay. So this is called "We're Not Really Strangers." I don't know if you've heard of it before. So I'll explain it. This is a different deck. Usually I bring out the original game, but this is like a different version because I think this would be really, really good for you and me. It says self-love on it, guys. Okay. So I'll explain how it works, and then we're going to play it. Okay. So self-love means loving all versions of yourself, even the ones you may not recognize anymore and the ones you don't know yet. It takes practice, and that's why we made this game. Play as often as needed. So there are 3 different levels. There's the past, the present, and the future. So the past, who were you then? This level is about gaining perspective on your past self in order to better understand your current self. Then we have present. Who are you now? This level is about looking at your current relationship with yourself and accepting what you see. And finally, we have future. Who will you be? This level is about exploring new ways to be yourself and new ways to love. There's also what we call wild cards. These cards can appear at any moment during the game. Some might take you outside of your comfort zone. Follow the instructions and notice how you feel. So I thought this deck would be important for us to play because I think we've been doing a lot of self-introspection through this phase. Sure. Yeah, and we've spoken about quite a lot of it. So I want us to dig deeper, and I'm hoping this will help us do that. Okay, sounds fun. So there are 3 levels, as I mentioned. Since you're my guest, you can ask me a question. You're going to pull from the deck, you ask me, and then I'll reciprocate to you. Okay. So as you can see, it's broken up into 3 categories. The numbers are there. Okay. So number 1. Number 1 would be past. Past. Yeah. Okay. You can put anyone. You don't have to pick in front, in the middle, wherever. Okay. Let's see. Level 1, past. Reminder: the best version of yourself wasn't the only one who deserved to be loved. Okay, so that's what it says. Yeah, it's just a quote, right? Yeah, I think that's just the start of it. So I guess you can pull another card. Okay. Yeah. Where do I put this? I can just put it there. Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna go with. Oh, that's level 3 though. Oh, we're starting with 1. Yeah, start with 1. We're gonna go through all of them. What was your favorite way to play as a child? When I think about my childhood, I think anything that's creative. Because I'm big on creativity. I love doing anything creative. Sure. So I think I was the typical girly girl who would play like with mud, making cakes and like baking and pretending that that's what I was doing. I never really enjoyed the games where we all had specific gender roles. Sure. Because I believe women don't belong in the kitchen. Sure. Women can do what they want to do. So I didn't really enjoy the games where we were playing like mom and dad. House. Yeah. But sure. I enjoyed anything that was creative. I don't think I was much of a runner. I really can't remember taking my shoes off. As a child, I did not like that. But I really enjoyed anything that really touched on creativity, even coloring, crayons, playing outside to an extent. So you definitely like art jamming, the whole painting stuff. Sure. Yes, okay. Definitely. Okay. Yeah. So as long as it had some kind of an artistic element to it, I was your girl. Okay, that sounds cool. Yeah. That sounds really cool. I will ask you now from the deck. What is the story of your birth? The story of my birth? That's so vague. Right? Oh my word. Go as detailed as you want to, or as vague as you want to. The story of my birth. So my mom is colored Indian. Okay. She's actually Indian because her dad is Indian. Yeah. But because we grew up in a colored community, we just said, okay, mom's is colored. Yeah. But my dad is Pedi, so I am multiracial. I grew up Well, the birth. We're talking about birth, not growing up, right?
Yeah. We were
Birth.
born.
Okay.
Born. I don't know.
I am the third child of 9 kids.
Oh wow.
Actually 10 because my brother's adopted, so we 10.
Okay.
I am the third. Well, I would be the fourth, obviously, because my adopted brother is older than me.
Okay.
So big family. I'm the eldest sister. So I even parent my elder brothers. So that's just what else about my birth? I'm a girl. I was born in Polokwane. I'd like to believe Polokwane Mediclinic. That's what my mom said. Maybe I don't even know if she remembers him, but moms are supposed to.
Yeah.
What else? And also my disability, by the way, it wasn't recognized at birth. It started showing 3 months later, and apparently they operated too late. So you can fix it within a specific time frame. But the older you get, the worse it gets. So I had about 8 surgeries to correct that. 8, and I'm talking in and out of hospital. At some point, I missed the whole term 3. I think I was in grade 7 or something. Yeah, and it's been a wild life. But birth. What else about birth? Yeah, I don't know what else. It's very vague.
You said a lot.
Right? Okay.
Okay, let's move on to number 2, which is present.
Present.
Anywhere in that category.
The nail girlies, no?
Yeah, the nails are tricky.
Okay, the present.
Yeah.
What do you have great taste in?
I want to say that's a weird one, but I'm a lad, so that just give me a moment. I want to say great taste in choosing friends. I'm very much an energy-based person. So I gravitate towards connection. And it might not be what I want it to be in the moment. But for me, it's like once I hook onto someone's energy, I'm very much like, I want to be friends with this person. And it usually, like 90% of the time,
it works out.
Yeah. That's why I've got so many long-term friendships. My friends like to joke that, like, I've got a lot of friends. Like, when I have to celebrate something big, like let's say a birthday or graduation or something, and I have a limited amount of people that I can invite, I often have anxiety because I've got so many good friends. But like, I don't know.
And long-term friends, I think that's actually great. I am the opposite.
Really?
I think I always lose friends, and maybe sometimes it's me, sometimes it's them. I'll be honest, I'm not always like the best person. But I think I'm the opposite.
I think it's about quality as well, right?
Yeah.
And that's what I tell my friends. So strangely enough, I've got a lot of good friends, but like my friends don't have a lot of friends, right? And I always tell them, I'm like, guys, sometimes it's not even about the quantity, it's about the quality of the friendships that you have.
100%.
So I guess I'm grateful that I've attracted quality people in my life, and maybe that's why I've got so many friends. But like, it's about the quality of it all,
right?
You know. So yeah, the energy thing has been really important for me, and that's what has like guided me in a lot of the decisions that I've made in my life, even outside of relationships. You know, even my podcast guests, like I gravitate towards how this person makes me feel. You know, releasing.
I wonder how I made you feel.
Well, I guess I can answer that. I think for you, you made me feel seen.
Sure.
I think you were the first person in my journey who openly shared what it's like to be unemployed, and not just one post and then you keep it pushing, but like consistently you were like showing up in that phase, and I was like, this is a girl who is very honest about herself, and she doesn't need to be. It's easy to just crawl into a hole and just be there, and everyone can be fine with that because you know you're going through it all. But you were so brave.
Just to, right?
Yeah, to be like, day this, day that, and you're like, today life was good, and then the next day you're like, life sucked, and you're so honest about that.
Well, I think that's also good. The fact that you can read energy, I think it's a really great thing because for me, with friends, I think I'm happy with what I have now. I don't want more friends. And then I'm happy with whoever's there now, you know. So that's because I feel like the dead skin has shared itself off, or maybe I was the dead skin. So I think it's really great that you can read energy. It's important. I think sometimes I struggle to read energy, and then I start overthinking and spiraling and thinking, oh gosh, you know. So yeah, that's a really great thing. Okay. On just happy future, ne?
Still present.
Still present.
Yes.
This is a cool game.
Isn't it?
Yeah, love it.
Who allows you to be you?
Who allows me to be me? My best friend. Her name is Gugu. And with Gugu, guys, you see, if you want to ruin my life, kidnap that girl and let her tell you everything. I'm 100% certain. Yeah. But she allows me to be me. I can be different sides of me. I don't have to pretend that I'm this or I'm that. And I think I feel safe when I'm around, and she's not the only friend, but I think mostly goes with most of my friends. I can be, but with her it's very deep because I've never had to act happy or act sad or anything. I am what I am. I had a call this morning with her and I was like, dude, I know you're writing a test in an hour, but I need to talk. I need to talk, and then she gave me that time of day because she understands how my mind works. Yeah. So she's the opposite of me. I'm very emotional and she's very like rigid and so I think she's allowed me to be, and shout out to her because a lot of the times I vent to her. It's not always like uh the greatest friendship in a sense that friends fight, friends argue, friends, and it happens. But she's my closest friend, and I've been myself. I can be absolutely me, no layers, like an onion. I am deeply me and I say things how they are. And I don't even have to think before I say things, and I say them to her because I know she understands when I'm being sarcastic, when I'm being funny, or I'm being real. And sometimes she says, "Oh no, you can't. I'm glad you said that to me. You didn't say that to people because this is too real." Yeah. You understand? So I think it definitely has to be her. I can be me like wholeheartedly, and I know that she's never gonna judge me, and if I'm wrong, she'll tell me. Hmm. Yeah, right. I think it just makes me actually feel so fulfilled that I have someone like that in my life. Obviously with family, sometimes it's not always you're not always gonna be yourself like fully. Sometimes you'll just put up an act to be okay with certain other people in your life. But I think with her, out of a lot of people in my life, I've just been myself. uh, if I'm honest about everything, that I can't do this, I can do this. I have this, I don't have this. And she knows like the full life story. She knows everything, like even the financial constraints, emotional constraints, mental constraints of this unemployment phase. She knows everything. Yeah. So if you want tea, kidnap her. If you want tea, kidnap her. Yeah, but it's good to have such people around you. I think it's we all need just that one person, and it could be your sister, your aunt, your anything. So okay, number 3, right? Number 3. I am really trying to use this nails thing. It's working so far. So far, right? Let's see. Okay, that's the question on the side. I love this game. It's a good game. What do you finally feel ready for? What do you finally feel ready for? This is a good one. So this is not future, right? Yeah. Future. The next step, the next journey, the next step, the next chapter, the next chapter. I don't know what it looks like. Sure. But I've also had this feeling in my heart for a while now that whatever's coming is going to be bigger and better than my wildest dreams. And I'm ready for it. I think I've done the work mentally, emotionally, even physically, and I think I'm in a much better headspace than I've been in a very long time. Sure, sure. And I'm just ready for the next chapter, and I'm ready to wholly and purposefully live in that and embrace it. And I'm sure you feel it in your gut that I'm ready. Yeah, and right? more so, I feel like it's coming. Sure, yeah, sure. I don't want to really, put a label to it because I just want to be open to whatever that looks like. But I know in my heart that I'm ready. You live and you live, and it's coming. And I think God willing, it'll be good. It'll be great, and you'll just feel like, oh my gosh, where was I 2 seconds ago? Right. And I think we all deserve that, especially anyone going through a phase of unemployment or loss or grief or whatever that looks like. But crossing fingers, I am. Like it's on the way. It's on the way. Oh, gosh, guys. Okay, this is another reminder. You are never just one thing. You can choose, you can change. You're never just one thing, you can choose, you can change. Yeah. Let's see. Question. What label doesn't fit you anymore? Does it have to be professional? Life of the party. Oh, okay. I am definitely a grown woman now. I prefer I don't like noisy places. I don't like noisy people. Yeah. I used to love partying. I used to listen Friday to Monday. Yes. If I could. And intense, day before work, I used to. But right now, I think I just want good. I want marriage, I want kids, I want stability. And I'm only 25, you can imagine. But I partied throughout varsity and for a good part of my articles I was always out and about. And right now I no longer want to be the life of the party. I want to host friends, intimate gatherings, let's bring and bri, let's do all of that. But the club scene and all this noise, like we can do vacations and all of that, we can be loud and noisy on such things, but more intimate things. I think life of the party is something that I no longer want to be. So I've had fun. I've went to second, third, fourth locations, and I think I've seen that part of life, and I don't think it aligns with some of the goals and dreams that I have for myself. And even spiritually, I'm not saying people who party, they're a spiritual mess or anything, but I think I made a lot of bad decisions because I was intoxicated, like deeply intoxicated. So I don't want to be associated with being the life of the party. I'm in my Makoti era, and this is my daughter era, and just calm, cool, and collected. I don't. We're done with all of that stuff. Yeah. That's right. Oh, it's good. You say it's called self-love. It's called We're Not Really Strangers. Okay. Oh. Okay. Okay. I'll show you the other edition. Sure. So I have one more question for you. I left it to the end on purpose. I've never actually asked this question to a guest before, but I think I'm going to. What does a breakthrough look like for you right now? A breakthrough? Yeah. I'll be quite honest, I've had conversations with myself, not necessarily using the word breakthrough, but thinking, Bella, what would make you feel so good right now? Yeah. Like you're going through the most and it's not been an easy journey, but for me, it looks like a job where I fit. I think as someone who has a high social media following, I've always struggled to fit into traditional spaces. Now I'm talking about spaces where people don't appreciate the power of this digital era we work in, that people are Gen Z and there's going to be new, cool energy in the office. So I want to work in a space where um, the law firm has an Instagram account that it takes seriously. And I saw a few and I was like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. I wish, I even sent an email to one firm asking for a job because I was like, you guys, you are for me. Yes. Like it didn't go well because they weren't looking for anyone at the time. But I was like, oh my gosh, this really aligns with who I am. So I want a job that just aligns with what I want. I want to grow and I want to learn in the corporate and commercial space in law. And it doesn't matter what area or what I'm practicing at the time, but I want a job where I'll fit, where I'll learn, where I'll be respected, and a space that's not toxic. I think we need to do away with all this toxicity of people yelling at us at work like we're kids. In hindsight, we're all adults. And in hindsight, people say practice is toxic and you need to take it as it comes and whatnot. But I don't think that's how. I actually think I learned better from people who respected me, people who were cool enough to ask, how's your day going? What are you up to? What are you working on? Not people who yell and scream and people that I had to fear. So I want to work in that space. And I think for me, a breakthrough looks like a job like that, but also just spiritual, mental, and financial breakthrough. Spiritually, I want to be on a different level. I want to have a different relationship with God based on this season that I've been in. Surely I wasn't in it just by chance or by mistake. I know God wanted me to learn something and I want to be able to have a better relationship with Him because of that. I think being life of the party, I kind of strayed away from church and God. And I used to pray, and even in the car before I went up to work, but I wasn't really I think I was doing it for the sake of, oh God, please, I need to have a good day. I don't want to deal with toxicity today, but I was doing it from a selfish space. And financially, just financial breakthrough. I want to visit the world. I have dreams and aspirations. I want to go to different countries. Zanzibar. I want to go to Singapore, Turkey, Nabo Watwat. I want to be an international girlie. I want to see all those things. So that's what breakthrough looks like for me. A job and just spiritual, emotional, mental, financial breakthrough in any and every sense. For me to finally say, oh my gosh, I'm finally letting go of unemployment and ask myself the question, what have I learned? And what are the lessons that I want to take with me into this new role, into this new phase, and how can I make that better for anyone else who's still, like I said, I still want to continue with the LinkedIn post, who's still in that phase. So that's what it looks like for me. And I think that's actually a really, really great question. I think anyone who's going through the pits should ask themselves what breakthrough looks like for them. And I also actually feel tempted to ask you what it looks like. I know I'm the guest, but I'm tempted to hear what someone else sees breakthrough as.
Fulfillment.
Fulfillment.
Yeah.
Sure.
I think it really looks like fulfillment, and fulfillment in my purpose.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think my purpose is just one thing, so don't
Sure.
ask me what's my purpose. But just being fulfilled in who Fido is and giving my life to the fullest. I think that's really what it
Right.
like. Yeah.
And fulfillment, then I guess it kind of interlinks with what I said, because I think a good job will fulfill one. Finances, spirituality, being great in everything, and all your other purposes in life, everything just being in line and on track would make you absolutely so fulfilled. And I really hope it happens for us.
I really hope so.
I really, really, really hope it happens for us. Yeah.
We are ready.
Right?
We are ready.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. I also feel a bit lighter, as I said earlier on. I was actually having a really weird day, but I do feel better now that obviously we've unpacked what this monster unemployment looks like, and I hope and pray that for anyone out there that they actually understand that, look, you're not alone, and it doesn't have to be unemployment alone. It could be difficulties at work, toxicity, passive aggressiveness. I mean, just yesterday I noticed someone being shouted at, and I felt like, oh my gosh, this is so unnecessary, my girl. Why are you yelling at this person? She's a grown person. And this was in an office space, and I was like, okay, this is so unnecessary, which is also why I said I don't want to work in a space where we're doing the whole yelling, chasing, screaming, Tom and Jerry thing, so I hope this shows someone out there that they're not alone, and that it gets better, and you're at liberty to choose. I think you're at liberty to choose, and also that everyone's journey is different. Like you said, you've been in this for more months than me. I know people who are in it for 5-6 years of unemployment. And pace looks different for all of us, so not everyone is going to be able to wake up every day and keep pushing immediately. For some people, it's going to take weeks or even months. But I think just brace yourself and pace yourself and be at liberty, and then be graceful to yourself and kind to yourself and the whole lot. So I do feel good that we actually just unpacked this, and yeah, I hope we'll be back soon.
I hope so.
To reflect.
Yeah.
And to say, okay, guys, this is where we were, and what you wanted versus what you got, and that would be super great. And I know that, like you said, you feel it coming. And funny enough, I posted something on my status. I said, no, this May month will not pass, because I also feel like I need to start getting it, and it needs to come to me. And by fire by force, we need to start attracting these things to us. And I don't know how and what we're going to do to get them to come to us, but one really needs to do something.
I think we're on the right track.
Right? I 100% believe this will open up just a lot of pathways, and we'll network and connect with different people. And also maybe we can just
one day have this conversation in a bigger setting.
Yeah.
Bigger setting, I mean more people engaged in the conversation, and we still unpack unemployment and the brutalities of it.
Yeah.
But thanks for having me. I feel good.
That's good.
Yeah.
Thanks for honoring the invite.
Right? Yeah, it was a bit tricky, but here we are.
Here we are.
And can't wait to see the final product. And any last words to viewers?
I mean, I should be asking you that. You're the guest.
But any last words? It's just that, own race, own pace. I am on this lane of the N1 or the highway, and you're on another lane. And you could be faster, I could be slower, I could be faster. So comparison is a thief of joy. Stay rooted in prayer or whatever thing you believe in, higher power. Keep your friends close and your family closer. Cut off the dead skin. Set standards for yourself as to what does a job look like for you if you're looking for. Like I said, I want specific kind of things, and these are things that I'm not willing to compromise on. And distance, for example, the Cape Town job was one of them. So and just be kind to yourself. I think more than anything, be kind to yourself. You're not useless. You're not stupid. You're not incapable. You're not lesser of just because you're in this space, and it doesn't make you less of a human being, less deserving of love and joy and support and all those other things. It doesn't make you less of. Yes, it feels like it. I feel like that a lot of the times, that, oh my gosh, I'm a burden, like you said earlier on. And you're not a burden, it's just a phase. And I think we all go through it at some point or the other. And many people who are employed right now probably went through this at some point in their careers, some sort of a hiccup. And we move,
It'll work out.
Yeah, we just need to move. So those are my last words.
Yeah. All I'm going to say to that is ditto, and it will work out. It has to.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to cheers to this, and we good.
Yay.
To work and money.
And like a future that's bright, eh?
So true.
Yes. And that's a wrap on today's session. Remember, breakthroughs don't happen all at once. They unfold in the moments we choose to keep going, to start again, to believe that more is possible. If this episode spoke to you, share it with someone who needs a reminder that their story isn't over. And as you go, keep rising, keep pushing, and most of all, keep believing. This is the Breakthrough Sessions podcast, where every ending is just a new beginning. Until next time.